What's up, guys? This is PbnJ. I'm John, back again with Jesse and Brian.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, so just an update. I'm here. Last week, I said that I was going to go skydiving, and I made it. So when I was on a plane, I had a lot of things cross my mind. You know, I guess normal people would.
Did your life flash before your eyes?
Yeah, and I had a couple things cross my mind. So one was, I hope Baywatch is not the last movie I watch. And I want to be around to watch episode 8 and 9. So I'm here, so everything's cool.
Priorities, right? I didn't see Star Wars. What am I doing?
Yeah, I don't think they show it in heaven or hell or whatever.
In hell? I was like, heaven's got to show everything. Hell no, they're like, oh, they dangle it in front of you. You want to watch
pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You don't have a wallet or a card. Denied.
It's standard.
Yeah.
You gotta watch standard dev, and then it cuts out in the middle of it.
It's without the CGI.
Yeah, it's all green screen still. No, that's cool. So how was it? It was pretty good. The skydiving.
Yeah, it was cool. I don't plan to do it again. You know, they make you watch a waiver video, which is pretty freaky. They list out all the risk involved with it, and it's kind of, I mean, they have to tell you legally, but it kind of gets it, you know, you're thinking about that the whole time, you know. But yeah, it's fun to do it once. Probably wouldn't do it again, but
yeah. Where was that? Where'd you guys go?
It's in Lake Paris. Okay. Out in like, what was it, Riverside County area? Yeah. So it was pretty warm yesterday, but skies were clear and just a little bit windy, but not too bad.
So when you landed, did you just like pop your feet? Just
so it's tandem, right? Because I can't do it by myself. So the guy just tells you to pick up your legs, and then he'll land for you. And, well, you both just kind of just sit down and as you're coasting down, so you're not like breaking your legs, you know, like hitting it hard straight down. It's kind of like a gradual, like an airplane landing.
Yeah. So honestly, were you screaming like a little bit?
No,
I would have. Unless there was a girl behind me now, I'd be like
acting all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I do this all the time.
I was relatively calm for some reason. Maybe, yeah. But if I think I was telling my friend, like, if I saw someone freak out on the plane going up, I would probably get freaked out too. But, yeah.
Like, is there, when you get up there, is there a way just to be like, nah, forget it?
You can. So okay. You still have the option to back out.
Yeah.
At any time.
Did you take any shots before you got up there?
No. they have a sign there that where they say that you can't be drinking alcohol or high while you're doing that, for obvious reasons, for safety reasons. So you have to be pretty sober to do it.
Was there like a bunch of you guys, or just?
Yeah, there was like 20 people on the plane. It was pretty crowded. There was a team of 5. So it's pretty scary. Like, you know, those planes that usually have an open door in the back where people jump out.
Yeah. So
and everything's by height. So at like 8,000 feet, this guy just opens the door and just jumps out and doesn't say anything. He just waves like on his way out, and then I'm just like, oh man, crap. Yeah. So from my group, I was like I was the second one to go out. So I think it would have been that it's better that I got out early rather than being at the end. Yeah, then I'll just be thinking about it more.
Did you guys do that whole star thing?
No.
You guys...
that's a little more advanced. Yeah, just needed to get back to the ground, and I did. So that's all I cared about.
Did you like kiss the ground when you got there? Like, yes.
Yeah.
Let me off.
I'll take your word for it. That's cool. I'll skip the skydiving.
Yeah, we Mexicans, we go ahead and climb walls, not jump off planes.
Going the wrong way. That's not the way you go.
We go underground sometimes, but
yeah, I can swim pretty good. I don't know why. Just comes naturally to me. But skydiving, nah. Skydiving, bungee jumping, whitewater rafting. No thanks.
Golf.
Oh man.
You see, they're after my boy Tiger. They're after. We know stay away.
Yeah.
All right, so we're all glad Brian made it. He lived. This morning we all went to go see Wonder Woman. We went all out in IMAX 3D to try and get the full effect of the movie. And It was pretty good. I liked it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. All the hype about it being the best DC movie so far. I agree with that. I say it's above average. It's something I would definitely recommend.
Yeah, I totally agree too. I think the movie was very good. A lot of good special effects. The story was somewhat sound. There was a few gaps, which I know I'm gonna bitch about in a few minutes. But no, it was worth the money. Worth waking up early in the morning and driving all the way to Orange County for. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Mostly in IMAX. I think it was.
Actually, I think
it was worth it.
I think it helped. Yeah, so that's definitely the best of the DC movies by far, easily. But let's get the negatives out the way. There aren't that many negatives, but we'll talk about those first. For me, the biggest drawback, I think, was that it's too long. It was a solid 2 hours, and you could feel it at times, right? The movie started off really quick. It got into the Amazons and Diana. Just so you guys know, this is spoilers. We're going to go full-on spoilers.
Yeah, I was going to say, you go ahead and put it in because we're going to spoil a bunch of stuff.
If you haven't seen it, you might want to skip this part, or you have to skip the whole podcast. But, so it goes into the origin of Diana. She was little, and she's growing up, getting training. And it goes right into it. It goes right into the Amazons training on their horses. You saw some cool stuff. CG was a little wonky. I don't know if you guys noticed it. Like, when they're doing the flips in the air, there's sometimes it's like, it looks kind of fake. But whatever. It was cool. It was actually pretty good.
Matrixy.
Yeah, and then there was a scene where when she was little and she jumped off the wall, and it's totally her just falling in front of a green screen. Like you can just see it. But anyways, that was minor, not a big deal. And then it goes to her getting older, becoming the baddest Amazon because she's Wonder Woman, and the story doesn't mess around. Like Steve Trevor shows up, who's played by Chris Pine. He ends up on the island. And he's followed by a bunch of German soldiers. This is set during World War I, and the story just goes right into it. It was just quick. It just didn't skip any beats, and I thought it was really cool that they did that, and it was actually pretty funny. There was a lot of jokes, especially with her interacting with Chris Pine, because the first time she's ever met a man. So there's some funny stuff there. It was real awkward, and a lot of jokes, and it kind of felt like, for me, I was like, well, this is good because this movie, it's right away you can tell it's not so freaking dark, right? Like Batman, Superman, and Man of Steel. The tone of this movie is kind of Marvel-like in that it's light, it was funny, the action it got going, and we're having a good time. That being said, once they leave the island and they go back to London, the movie, for me anyway, just kind of came to just slow down a lot. I wouldn't say screeched to a halt, but I started to feel it. Like, okay, we were moving. And now it started to bog down. There's about 3 big action scenes, right? There was the one in the opening. You had that scene in the middle with the village, and the final scene. But so these 3 big action scenes were really good. But then in between, there was a lot of exposition and talking. And for me, you probably could have cut a good 15 minutes, I think, easily. Kept it going. For me, that was my biggest issue with it. What is your biggest?
I think, like we said, the filler, it sucked because we want more action, but it's needed in a way. Because let's say after the second battle, the battle in the village, Trevor's kind of explaining to her why it gets done, the appreciation of humanity. So like you said, she's from another island. She doesn't have interaction with humans. And I'm not saying humans like humankind, but she's technically different. The Amazonians are not mankind. They're supposed to have been made by the gods to protect humankind. So they're kind of like our protectors. So they're not really have
humanity.
Yeah, exactly. And mostly Diana, because Diana, of course, was created specifically. It was an interaction between her and a god, an Amazonian, and a god. So there's that interaction. So she's above mankind, and like I said, no interaction. So obviously there's a lot of filler. Some of it is funny, like you said, when the interaction with Trevor and humility. Also, this is based in the early 1900s, so women's suffrage hasn't come around, so women don't have the same rights, so it's awkward for her when she's coming from an island full of women where they're liberty to do whatever they want. And then here they have the constraints of being a woman, being a 1912, 1914, whatever the actual time frame was. So I mean, you kind of have to. It's kind of like an orange juice story. You got to put in a bunch of filler. But you're right. There were times where it's just, oh my god.
Yeah. That's where. Yeah, I was like, we get it. Come on.
Yeah. But I mean, it was like I said, the action scenes were the bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. The actions were definitely the bomb.
Yeah. I really like the action scenes, especially the one where she fought her way through the front line. The way the bullets were being shot, sprayed all over, like from her shield, and they show the top down scene where you see all the sparks all around her, which I thought was pretty cool. And then this movie adds the effect where every time she hits something with a sword, you'll see sparks, which is, I mean, it's a CGI effect, but it looks pretty cool. It's different from all the other movies. So it just kind of brings out more of the 3D effect in a way, and also with her lasso, the shiny lasso that gets whipped around. I think that's a pretty good effect. Let's see what else. Yeah, so the action scenes, I like the over the top action scenes, like that they have also in like Batman and Superman, where buildings are getting blown up because they're just so powerful. That's something we don't really see with Marvel movies unless it's Hulk.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I like this the whole Dragon Ball Z type thing where they throw a guy and he just flies through the building, and there's a scene where she takes out a sniper and she just gets launched up to the bell tower and just blows up the entire building, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, there was also a couple of plot points that kind of seemed they just kind of threw it in there, like we were discussing earlier, that the doctor, the evil chemist for the Germans, created like a super soldier serum, and she's like, look, I created a super soldier serum, and then her commanding officer's like, oh cool, and he tries it, he gets all strong, and then just kind of puts it in his pocket, and he's hell-bent in the story, he's hell-bent on winning the German war. It was right before they were about to surrender, and he's like, I have to find a way to keep the war going, and we're gonna develop this super mustard gas. Oh, and hey, a super soldier system. Nah, that's cool. I'll keep it. Like that's something that he could have used to try and keep fighting and to win the war and turn the tide of the war. And they just kind of throw it aside. And really, the whole point of it to be in there was so that he could fight Wonder Woman later. That's pretty much like the whole reason that serum was created, was just a way to give him a power boost. But I thought that was kind of a wasted idea to have like the Germans come up with they could have made a army of Wonder Woman type soldiers, and he just put it in his pocket and just kept it for himself. And it's like, all right, keep working on that poison gas, like
right,
and he totally didn't do anything with it. So I thought that was a little weird. And they also really didn't get into that doctor too much. She's a chemist, she's this evil chemist, she's brilliant, and she's coming up with this gas. But I was like, well, who is she? Why was she there in the first place? Why was her face messed up? And she was ended up being a little more minor character than I thought. I thought she was gonna be a big deal that they would have to deal with. And
is she a character in the comics, or is she just?
I'm not sure.
Created from this movie.
I actually don't know. Her name's Dr. Poison in the movie, so I'm gonna assume she's in the comics. I'm not a Wonder Woman expert. Most of my knowledge of Wonder Woman is from reading her in Justice League. So I'd never really read her comics, her solo comics. And then I know they changed a lot in the New 52. So I'm not sure. I'll say yeah, she probably is. So little small plot points like that kind of bugged me, and then the final villain was, I thought, kind of weak. I didn't buy that act. The actor's not very threatening, I guess. Yeah. So it's like, and then here's another spoiler, but that twist of him being Ares, I figured that out like in 2 minutes. I'm like, oh, he's Ares. He was he's a British corporal who's trying to help them out, and Wonder Woman's trying to find Ares, who she thinks is disguised as a human, and this guy is helping them, and they make the move, make you think it's the general, the German general, but pretty quick I was like, no, it's that British guy who was helping them. Like the twist didn't come off, and then the whole twist of her being the God Killer instead of the sword, Like I mean, that was obvious too. So nothing special. So the final fight with the villain, I didn't really care too much. I mean, the fight was cool, right? Like we're talking about, they're throwing tanks at each other, and they're doing the Dragon Ball Z thing where they're flying around. But the villain himself, I kind of liked the other guy better. The general, he was played by Danny Huston, who's a great actor, and he was coming off as really threatening and really dangerous, and then she kills him really fast, and it's like, no, here's Ares, and he's the British guy, and he's not scary at all, and he's really weak, and she beats him.
Yeah, so they keep hinting that that drug will make him as powerful as her.
Yeah,
and then he just gets beat up in a few minutes.
Yeah,
and then they try to throw a swerve in there and to tell you that, hey, it's the other guy who's Ares. So I mean, I didn't catch that in 2 minutes like you did. I mean, I didn't know until I saw it, but I don't know. Like, I was disappointed when I saw him. Like, oh, this guy, like, how could he be the main villain in this whole thing?
Yeah, and it was a swerve that didn't really pay off, I think.
On Ares, I kind of, like you said, I didn't know right away that, I didn't know it was him. I knew that there was a plot twist where Ares was going to come out as being someone else. I didn't think it was going to be him. I think what they should have done is he should have shifted to somebody else, someone that would have looked like he's supposed to be the god of war.
Right.
And this guy just looks like some normal
English guy. Yeah.
And what I did like, though, is how he constructed the Ares suit out of destroyed metal and stuff. I thought it was kind of cool. The suit itself was kind of cool. But it should have been wielded by somebody who was a lot more meaner and like, oh yeah, that's Ares right there.
That's what I think of when I think of God of War instead of
so I think they should have showed him like, I'm the guy who's doing it, and then shape shifted, and then there you go. Like this is what Ares looks like. The other thing I didn't like about the whole Ares and Wonder Woman fight, I like the scenes, I like the action scenes, but where was all that strength that she had? Like, she's fighting a god. She is technically a god herself. And then, like, you don't really see that in Doomsday.
Right, yeah, right.
And so where he was not a god. He's a clone of Zod, a Kryptonian clone. And when she was fighting during, during the second fight, I mean, you can say that she picked up the power and realization. She figured out. Oh, I got more. I'm stronger. I'm within. But again, Doomsday. There is a continuity thing. It's like this is in the future. So does that mean when we in Justice League, is she gonna fucking just be like I said, Dragon Ball Z and pull out, because she was pulling tricks that.
Yeah, we didn't see that in which would have been 100 years later.
Yeah,
right? She wasn't pulling that stuff.
Yeah, so it's like I said, the fight scene at the end. Those were some issues I had. It wasn't as realistic, but it was a kick-ass fight.
Yeah, sure.
What do you guys think about the time period? Like Captain America, the first one, was the First Soldier?
Yeah, first Avenger.
First Avenger. That took place in World War II, I believe.
Yeah.
And this one is in World War One. I don't know, like with these kind of superhero movies, it seems like they're too powerful for that time period. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? Is that
like you mean like because you have these big wars going on and they could have just won the war really quick if they were involved. Like in Captain America, right? World War II, like we would have just whooped ass with Captain America. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was cool. I think it works because it shows how old she is, right? It establishes her being way older than Superman and Batman, and she's been around. And I think something like that is what would have got the attention of the Amazons. Right, like they can't be secluded forever, right? And they were secluded for a long time. And wars like Civil War, they wouldn't have cared, stuff like that. But a big world war, I think that works because it gets them. There's no way they would have stayed out of that conflict for so long, even if there's, these big massive wars. Like if it was World War II, we'd probably be asking why didn't they get involved in World War I? Like it's a huge thing. So I actually liked it because I thought it was a good trigger event to get them out of Themyscira, like into the world. It'd have to be something big like that. Like Now does it? Yeah, it kind of makes a little difference. Like, oh, and I thought, I mean, maybe they got around by what you're saying by having it towards the end of the war. Like,
Yeah,
it's just about over,
right.
You know, whereas if she came in at the beginning, they would have been over really quick. So it was almost over, and they brought them out of it. So they got involved in the World War. They weren't able to avoid it, so it brought them into the world of man. But it was also a little too late to where she could make a big difference. It was like they were ready signing the peace treaties and all that stuff. So I didn't have a problem with that. And then it was also cool to see like she was fighting, and then like Steve Trevor and his friends, they were all fighting with her, and so she got to see, you know, the heroism and war and like warriors too. Whereas it was like peacetime, she could like, oh, these guys are all no one does anything, but she like almost like they got her respect in that way.
Well, I mean, she had to come out in war for this storyline to work, because that was the whole thing, you know.
Ares, right?
Ares is an influence. She's going out to get rid of Ares, who she's a sworn enemy of, stuff like that. So, she had to come out in the war. I guess when you're talking about like Captain America comes out in the Second World War. So technically, and then he's frozen. So then you don't see him for other wars. You don't see him in the Korean War and all that. Vietnam, and all these other conflicts. So I mean, I can see how Marvel got away with it. With this movie, it's kind of like, where was she during World War II? So
you know, maybe they can make another movie down the road or another story.
I mean, it could be. I mean, because then is it the return of Hades?
Yeah,
I'm not Hades. I'm sorry, of Ares.
Yeah.
Is it another movie for that? So yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see. But like you said, she only came back because she was trying to spoil like a Hail Mary for the Germans. Like you said, the Germans were done. The generals were already talking about signing the treaties and all that. So yeah, I guess we'll have to see how did they figure out World War II. Because if she came out of World War II, I think it would have been much better, like you said, a time period. Because you still would have had the female thing, you know, she's still second class. A lot of the jokes would still apply.
No, but you made a good point earlier, you know, by saying it's in the early 1900s. You know, it affected, you know, women more. So
correct.
So you made a good point there.
Yeah, because even after the First War, women had a little bit more rights, and that might be because the reason they're interested in the field. They probably didn't have. I mean, I'm not a historian, so don't go and start quoting me. But I'm just saying they probably gained a few more rights after World War I. Not as much as after, of course, you know, like late in the 70s and 80s, whatever. So I don't know. I mean, and then the one thing, I mean, when we were at Comic-Con, someone had asked, are we going to go ahead and see the jet? Are we going to see the invisible jet?
Yeah.
And the director really had a good comeback. Says, oh, this is during World War I. There were no jet technology available. So I have to give props to the director for a quick comeback.
Yeah.
So, and then she says, well, there might be still a possibility of seeing it in the future.
Yeah.
So she didn't say it would never show up. So that might be something that maybe comes out of World War II, or, you know, maybe in the Justice League, maybe we'll see something like that. So, because she can't fly here.
No, she can't.
I mean, she's like leaps. Like
she leaps. Yeah.
She's kind of like the Hulk. She takes long leaps, but it's like, I don't even say it's flying.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was those are the negatives about the movie. Let's talk about the positives, and there's a lot more positives than there are negatives. Probably the biggest thing for me was I was a little worried how Gal Gadot would handle headlining her own movie. She's never done that before, and for the most part, I thought she did a good job. There was she dropped a couple lines here and there. I was like, a little cringeworthy, but for the most part, she did a good job. She looks like Wonder Woman. She acted like Wonder Woman. And I also think the supporting cast was really, really strong, so they helped. Chris Pine, you know, he's a good actor. He's pretty much good in everything. He really helped carry the movie, and they played off each other really well. So the performances I thought were really good, and the other soldiers, Steve Trevor's friends, were all good. They were funny. Everyone did their part. So no, I came away pretty surprised with that, and I was pretty happy with it. I thought Gal Gadot carried carried it pretty well. She really like the whole time I was thinking while I was watching this movie was the way she interacted with normal people, how she helped people no matter what, and she always fought what was right and was good. The whole time I thought, damn it, this is what Man of Steel should have been. This is Superman, how he should have been. Like Brian brought up the part where she takes out the sniper by destroying the whole building, and when she walks out, everyone's clapping for her, and she comes down and she's shaking their hands and she's giving hugs, and they're all like, like this is a hero here. And as opposed to Man of Steel, where it's like he would say something, they're like, boo, you get out of here, you just ruined the building, someone died. And he's like, oh, I don't know if I should keep doing this. And she really came off really well, I thought.
One thing I did like about this movie, well, I want to talk about her as being Wonder Woman. I've been hearing a lot of girls hate. She's not my Wonder Woman. She's not Linda Carter. She's too skinny. She has small boobs. Speaking from a guy's perspective, she was sexy as fuck. We're not even talking about when she's wearing the Wonder Woman stuff. She has a sex appeal that goes throughout the whole movie. From when she's at the island, when she's trying new clothes. There's something about her that you can see Wonder Woman going through these things. She's coming to New Man's World. She's obviously, like I said, she comes from a different culture than ours, and she tries to adapt. And I think that kind of goes in touch a little bit with what John said about how she's respected when she comes out. She wants to help people. So while she might not physically be Linda Carter, I think that she embodies the spirit of Wonder Woman. She has that. She's here to save humanity. She has empathy. She has sympathy. I mean, there's a moment. The whole reason we see a second action scene is because she sees a mother and a baby crying, torn apart by the war. The village was taken over, and the area is called No Man's Land because they've been fighting for months and they haven't been able to move an inch. What does Wonder Woman say? Let's go kick some ass. Yeah. I mean, and she doesn't do it out of vengeance. She doesn't do it just to do it. She does it to liberate that city and to help these people who have been tarnished by the war in innocent lives. And that's actually all she does. Throughout the whole movie, she wants to be helpful. And I kind of like that message. I don't know, maybe we got this message because we got a female director. And a guy director would have been more focused on maybe the physicality and the action scenes. But I think the girls should stop hating because just because you don't look like her, but she is hot in this movie. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I was a little worried about having her casted to be Wonder Woman in the beginning too, because she was. I mean, she's attractive. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but. She did, like you said, she didn't have that look. She was skinny. Where John and I were talking about it, like when they were filming, wondering if she was going to bulk up for this movie, and she didn't. And it turned out to be okay. Since she's already like supernaturally strong as a character, she doesn't need to be big like the Hulk in order to be able to lift up a tank. And it's a comic book movie, so you don't have to show physical strength, like physically look strong in order to be strong. And then like in the second part of the movie where she's in London for the first time, and she just played very well, how the innocence, like a child, like a little girl, just learning all these new things.
She's naive like a child.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. I mean, she did very well to acting that part out. So the acting part I think was fine.
Yeah,
and you mentioned Chris Pine, like he was awesome in there.
Yeah. The supporting cast, they were just
really good.
Yeah.
And like to say, like they were funny. The movie was funny, and with legit, like I was laughing pretty hard. Like some parts were actually really genuinely funny, and I think the DC movies need more of that in general. The other ones, they're just so dead serious and so dark, and that you're not really having fun watching them. You get a little bored, and it's like, oh, come on, guys! Like, these are superhero movies, and this one totally went against that, and they put in the humor, put in the levity, so you're having a good time. And then it got serious when it needed to be later on. But I think it wouldn't have worked if it wasn't for the cast. Like that was a really, really good cast, and they all pulled it off.
And I agree with you on the comedy part, where they don't, all the Warner Brothers, or I should say the DC movies, don't have to be so dark. Because if you look again to the Marvel world, every one of those movies is funny.
Yeah.
Even when it's a character that should be dark. For example, if you go to Ant-Man, if you look at the original Hank Pym and stuff, you have an abusive person and all this other stuff. Right. But what did they do? They made it a comedy. They hired a comedian, not So I think that worked out for them. You know, again, Guardians of the Galaxy as well. That's kind of pure humor. So, and that's what attracts, I think, a lot of the comic book readers. Humor. I mean, Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, Spider-Man's a classic.
Yeah, everyone loves his sarcasm.
Right.
Same thing with Deadpool. There's comedy in all of Marvel stuff, and I think that maybe DC woke up. Maybe it had to come from a female type of role where they decided, well, let's not make it so dark. So who knows what the reason is, but I'm glad that they did change the attitude towards this one and give us that type of humor. And some of this, like you said, the whole theater was laughing.
Oh yeah, the theater was cracking up.
Yeah, it wasn't just us; it was everybody around. And then, again, to the actress, I mean, it was natural for her because she was previously Israeli trained,
right? So
she knows the moves. But I gotta give her props because she was pregnant during this time.
Mm.
There were times where they had to green screen her tummy out because she was already showing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta give her props for doing that.
Yeah, Jeff Johns, who is the co-publisher of DC Comics, and he was probably DC's head writer for the last 10 years, came from a TV background, and they kind of promoted him a little bit to kind of take control of these movies or really be really heavily involved. And so this was the first one where he was involved. So maybe coming from the comic book world, he kind of knows the feel of the movie. And if that was his fingerprint on the movie, was, hey, let's brighten it up, let's make it fun. Then I hope hopefully that bodes well for the future. Although the Justice League trailer really didn't look like that. It still looked
It really kind of reverted back to the dark look.
Yeah, it went back to being the dark look. It had the same feel as Batman, Superman. It seemed like they threw in a little bit with Aquaman and Flash. Having a couple jokes in there. But then I still have that look. The whole movie's like at night, right? And then Justice League trailer looks like it's all at night. And I mean, there's a time and place to be dark, right? Batman's dark. Punisher is dark. Wolverine, those are dark movies. Not everyone has to be dark, and this movie went against that. So this is Wonder Woman, so it's not a dark movie. It's a superhero movie.
Yeah, and if you look back at the cartoons too, or the Justice League cartoons or whatever, and I think maybe in the comics, Flash is always the funny one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Batman always has to be dark. That's just, he's broody.
Right.
We don't want him going back to the 50s. Adam West.
Right.
Funny.
Yeah.
we don't need him.
We're not requesting the Batucci dance and the.
So when we say dark, Batman is good. He should be broody at all time because that's his character.
Right.
He obviously doesn't trust anybody, including his teammates and himself. So that's cool. That's his character. Leave him at that. But you can't make everybody else dark, or you shouldn't. You should.
Yeah.
Superman was never dark.
Right.
You know, maybe a couple times here. If he was taken over, possessed,
right.
dark side, whatever.
Yeah, he had his dark side
exactly.
too.
But his general attitude is Mr. Boy Scout. Yeah. So he shouldn't be dark.
No.
And Wonder Woman has been dark in certain times, but it's more of she's more concerned about her Amazonians versus humanities. So, I mean, there's been times, but...
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with the Greek gods, you're going up against Hades, and of course it's going to get dark here and there.
Yeah. But I think if they're going to want to bring the audience in, they're going to have to change their aspect.
Yeah, and I hope they do. I hope with Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon, especially Joss Whedon, the guy's, his stuff is noted for his humor. Hopefully the movies get a little brighter, a little more fun. And with Joss Whedon working on Justice League, maybe we'll get a little bit of that. I'm not sure since he came in so late.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope the DC movies this seemed like a shift for them, and I hope they follow that path and don't revert back to the dark, where everything is just super super dark just because it's cool. Suicide Squad was dark, but I mean, since you're dealing with a bunch of villains, you kind of get away with it. But that had a lot of humor in it too. So yeah, it was a kind of a breath of fresh air from the DC movies to see something like this, where you can go and just have a good time and see a good movie and come out happy afterwards.
And you feel for the character.
Yeah.
You can see there's moments in there where you feel for Wonder Woman. You can see her when she's coming to the new world. I mean, she's straightforward and tells you, "Oh, this is ugly." She's talking about England because this is like the industrial age.
Yeah, she's like, this is ugly.
Yeah, I mean, compared when she comes from Paradise, and she's just blunt and honest. But then at the same time, there's times where you feel for her when there's tragedy. She loses during the first action scene. She loses people that are close to her, friends, family. And so you feel for her. And then at the same time, you also feel for her when she's growing up as a little girl, that she wants that adventure. And you kind of always already know you're going to become Wonder Woman. Yeah. But you see how it's already instilled in her, that adventurous kind of thing. So I think they did a really good job doing the little girl, the teenage, well, I guess maybe young adult.
Tween.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I guess in her 20s and stuff, they don't explain to her as how she ages, because
she could be 200, 300, 400 years old. We don't really know.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you can see that scene where when they were heading out to the front lines and she saw the wounded soldiers coming back. Yeah. And was like, "Whoa, wait! This isn't war. Is not a game. This is real." And she started seeing like what man was capable of. You can see the pain in her face and how she's almost like too good for the world.
And the thing at the same time, this disappointment, because when she thought she killed Ares, and everyone is still fighting, because it wasn't Ares, of course. Right. She expected this switch just to turn humanity into good people, and she saw the disappointment of, holy shit, humans are
right.
So like I said, you feel for her. She's from a different world, and you can relate to what she's going through. It's a believable character. Yeah. Even though she technically is, fiction. She's from the gods. Blah blah blah. If you don't believe in that, then you're obviously like, this is make believe. She's made out of clay, whatever. But you can feel for her character watching the movie.
And I thought Chris Pine did a good job. He was trying to explain.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't. Right. He's like, I can't. It's just people. It's just the way it is, and you can tell he wanted to tell her.
Right. But she had to see it for herself.
Right.
For her to get it.
Okay. Yeah. So that movie was pretty good. I'm gonna give it a grade. I'm gonna put it on a scale of 1 to 10. Right now, Rotten Tomatoes, it's certified fresh at like 94%. That's way too high. Movie's not that good. It is good, but it's not that good. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's a good movie. You're gonna enjoy it. Was it this big, greatest movie of all time, game-changing movie? No, not really. But it's definitely in the right direction. I hope they keep it going. Definitely better than the other three: Man of Steel, Superman vs. Batman, and Suicide Squad. Totally different feel. A lot of fun. If you didn't like those movies, don't even worry about it. Go see Wonder Woman. You're gonna have a good time. Again, if you want to compare it, we do a lot of comparing to Marvel. If you want to compare this movie to Marvel movies, it is better than a few of them. It's better than Iron Man 2. It's better than Thor: The Dark World. It's better than Captain America: First Avenger. Is it at the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers level? No, not even close. But it is good. It is enjoyable. I would say if you enjoyed movies like Ant-Man or the first Thor, this movie had a lot of similarities with the first Thor, which dealing with the gods, as Guardians and the Greek gods, you're gonna have some similarities, but it's funny, establishes the character, and you're gonna have a good time. So for me, I would say solid 7 out of 10. Go check it out.
Yeah, I would. I agree with you for a lot of things you said. So I'll just go straight to the point. I would give it an 8. Yeah, it's definitely a must-watch, I think, if you're into this comic book movies. And this is a great direction for the DC universe. So hopefully they they see the positive response from this movie and make all the changes they need for all the new movies coming forward, moving forward, and hopefully get them back on track into making higher quality movies than the previous 3 that we've seen.
I give Gal Gadot a 10. Girl, I know you're married, but give me a call. The opening scene where you got all the Amazonians practicing. Cold shower time. The movie, I also want to give it an 8 out of 10. I'm not as picky as John is.
I grade pretty hard.
Yeah, he does. I did like the origin movie. I mean, the origin story. It is an origin story, so you kind of sometimes have to expect it to be long and boring sometimes to catch the background, because not everybody knows who Wonder Woman is.
Right.
Because this is an international film now. I mean, she is an American comic, and so she has to be introduced internationally. And I think that's what some people forget. I think Fox News was bitching about she's not wearing her American
the stars.
Yeah. She's not American, fools. She's an Amazonian and not from Brazil, Amazon.
Yeah. She'd be Greek over anything.
She'd be Greek.
Yeah.
Why do you think they picked an Israeli person?
You're right.
Because that's the closest thing to a Wonder Woman. They would have gotten an American woman, it would have been all American. She's not American, people. Just like Jesus was a Jew. And we could go into semantics on that after the fact. But anyway, I think it was a very good storyline. The action scenes were good. Chris Pine. I was kind of worried about Chris Pine and how he was going to be on this. He did a really good job with this supporting cast again. I think we didn't see enough of him. I think...
like the sniper guy.
Yeah, the sniper guy. I mean, there's a story behind each one of them, and
Right.
I know it would have gone longer. We got more of the character development, but maybe in a sequel, maybe because they're obviously still around, so maybe we'll see more of them. But I kind of like the way they did it. They started off being in the present, and then they ended it with coming back to the present. Not sure I like the fact that she was in England. And that she seems to have a base of operation in England, but I have to realize the fact that she's not American. So
I think she was in Paris because the opening shot was at the Louvre.
Oh, was it the Louvre? Oh, you're right. It's even worse.
But in the end, I couldn't tell where she was. So I don't know if she just jumped out of the Louvre or she was in England somewhere.
Yeah, she jumped up to a skyride or some high building of some type. Yeah, and whatever. Wherever she's at, she's not American, so we can't go to the But I do think it was a good film overall. Hopefully, little girls who have never seen Wonder Woman, this inspires them to go ahead and start brandishing knives and stuff and kicking ass. Maybe we'll get more movies.
Yeah, actually, that brings up a good point. My cousin, after Batman vs Superman came out, and Wonder Woman was one of the best things about that movie.
Right.
Because after the movie, she was talking to me about it, and at the time she was 16 or 17, my little cousin, and she said Wonder Woman is my new favorite. And right away I told her, well, she should be. She's Wonder Woman. She should be your favorite.
The epitome of...
Yeah, and she'd never seen Wonder Woman ever before. She didn't know who she was. She's way too young for the Linda Carter show. She doesn't really watch, like the superhero cartoons. So she had no idea who Wonder Woman was. And when she showed up, she's like, "Oh, it's just Wonder Woman's awesome." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been telling you guys forever. Wonder Woman's, she's the best. She's the best one." And now I'm glad that this movie came out. You can see it introduces Wonder Woman, who's one of the great classic characters, to a whole new generation, and she gets more fans and more people appreciate her as a character, and we can see her.
Yeah, because I think she was way underrated.
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean, overall, she's got to be up there in the top 5 for DC.
Well, I mean, they always refer to her, Batman, Superman, as the Trinity of DC, and people just not enough of the general public knew about her.
Yeah,
and as they should. She's been around since, was it 39, 40? 1939, 1940, and she should be one of the top leading characters, and hopefully this movie pushes her up that way.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's it for us today, guys. Final verdict: Wonder Woman. Go see it. we'll see you guys next time on the next podcast. Stick around. So this is Brian, Jesse, and John. See you guys later.